What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. I want to do a quick video talking about James Harden. Of course, James Harden scored 61 points tonight against the San Antonio Spurs. The Houston Rockets won the game. It was by a final score of 111 to 105. And there were many factoids just fresh out the oven put out there about James Harden. James Harden scored the most points against a Greg Popovich coached team. The prior record was 57 points by Kyrie Irving. He did that a couple of years ago when he was a member of the Cleveland Cavaliers. What else out there? James Harden, this is his his third career 60-point game. Earlier this year, he had 61 points against the New York Knicks. And a couple of years ago, it might have been last year, he had a 60-point triple-double. So I think after tonight, James Harden's season scoring average goes up to 36.3 points per game. And I don't think he's going to catch Michael Jordan's 87 mark, but who knows? And of course, there's going to be people out there that's going to say, look, didn't you just make a video saying this guy's the most overrated player of all time? Possibly. And I still think that. Because, yes, like I said before, a broken clock is still right twice a day. You see how ESPN and all these other sports channels are all over James Harden dick whenever he scores 50 points or has a great scoring game. But, they're not there when he'll have 3 or 4 games in a row where he's shooting under 30% or under 40%. And the one thing I like about tonight's game is that he shot over 50%. He was 19 of 34 from the floor. But when you shoot the ball as much as he does, when you shoot as many three-pointers as he does, when you get to the foul line as much as he does, you're going to score a lot of points. It's going to happen. Everything's going to click in some games. You're going to score a lot of points. But he does not make his teammates better. We saw it tonight. It stagnates the offense. And the only time they can win games, they have to rely on him all the time. Back in my day, you had volume scorers. All right. Like an Allen Iverson. You had 3-point specialists. Like Adele Ellis. And you had guys that got to the foul line a lot. Like a Karl Malone or like a Adrian Dantley. But with this guy, you got all of that shit together. Of course, he's going to score a lot of fucking points. This is a guy that takes, right now, between 15 and 23-point attempts a game. To put this into perspective, during the second three-peat, I think Chicago might have took, on average, maybe 12 to 15 three-point attempts total as a team. If you got a guy who's taking 30-something shots, making close to 10 three-point attempts in a game, and getting the foul line 15 times, of course you're going to score a lot of points. This is the thing. Do it in the playoffs. When you do it in the playoffs, then you'll get credit from somebody like me. Especially if you do it in the latter rounds. These games he's having now, these phenomenal scoring performances, it's fine in the regular season. It's great. But it's the playoffs that separates the very good players from the great players and then the legends. George Gervin, one of the all-time great scorers, the Iceman. 4 scoring titles. He didn't play heavy minutes, by the way. In an era where most players played 40 minutes, 37, 38, 39, 40 minutes plus, George Gervin played like maybe 32, 33 minutes a game. Didn't shoot the ball as much as some other volume scorers, but he won scoring titles. But oftentimes in the playoffs, when George Gervin and the Spurs went deeper in the playoffs, there were some teams that would shut him down. And that's partially why you'll never hear George Gervin mention in the same breath as guys like Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and Isaiah Thomas. Another thing that drives me crazy is how people still don't look at what James Harden is doing as potentially stat padding. I heard him say he's not a selfish player in his press conference. Well, okay, if you want to say that. I saw Russell Westbrook get a triple-double tonight, and he and Paul George led their team to a much-needed victory over the Toronto Raptors, a team that just beat them a couple days ago. And they shifted from the 8th spot to the 5th spot. Because I know they don't want no parts of Golden State. But of course, Russell Westbrook, everybody just says all he cares about is his numbers. All he cares about is his stats. That's the argument against him. All he cares about is his numbers. But if you watch the guy play, flaws aside, I never get the impression that he really cares about his numbers. Now, are there times when Westbrook might look up and see that he might be a rebound away or an assist away? Maybe he goes for it. Okay, if you want to call that stat padding, fine. But I know there's games where James Harden looks up and see that he has 41 points with 10 minutes remaining. Nobody gonna fucking tell me he don't go for 50. Now, it's obvious too that James Harden is going for the MVP. James Harden is obviously interested in winning that MVP race. All right, so you best believe he's shooting his ass off right now and purposely trying to put up big numbers to win the MVP award. Because, like I said before in the video I did just yesterday, there's some precedent behind this. Kobe Bryant in 2005-2006 averaged 35.4 points per game for the Los Angeles Lakers. That's the same year that Kobe had that 81-point game. A month before that, he had the 62-point game against Dallas Mavericks in 3 quarters. I think there was also a game here when he had 51 points in 3 quarters against the Denver Nuggets. And Kobe, with that terrible roster that he was playing with that year, was literally a one-man team. And that's why I say what he did that year was more impressive than what James Harden is doing this year. Despite the fact James Harden, I'm just in my head, I'm guessing that after tonight's game, he's averaging 36.3 or 36.4 points per game, something in that range. Because he came in the game averaging 36.1. All right? But if you look at the fact that, you look at the roster that Kobe Bryant was playing with, you look at the fact that the league average in points per game at that time was 97 points per game as opposed to this year was like 112. Kobe Bryant led a team that nobody really expected to make the playoffs to a 45-37 record. But he did not win the MVP award. It went to Steve Nash. I think James Harden is trying to do everything possible to win that MVP award. But we'll see how that plays out, you know what I'm saying? But I wouldn't be surprised if in one of these games down the stretch, James Harden has 70 points. I think if that game had went to overtime, he would have scored over 70 points tonight. But tell me what you guys think, man, about James Harden's performance, and tell me how much of a hater I am of James Harden.